Hello everyone, and today we are going to take a look at the external features of the brain stem. Now here in the whole brain you can see part of the brain stem. You can see the pons and you can see the medulla, and we can make out the cerebellum behind the pons and medulla. But what you can't see is you can't see the midbrain. It is obscured by these temporal lobes. Now in a midline sagittal section, here you can make out again the pons, the medulla, the cerebellum behind the pons and the medulla and the cerebellum. You have the cavity of the fourth ventricle, and here high up this is the midbrain. So you can see the midbrain over here, and from the third ventricle this is the aqueduct of Sylvius expanding into the fourth ventricle. So again in the midline sagittal section you have midbrain, pons and medulla with the fourth ventricle and the cerebellum behind the pons and the medulla. So now let us take a look at a larger view. Here you have the anterior surface or the ventral surface of the brain stem. Not only that, in addition you have a part of the diencephalon, that is, you have a part of the base of the brain here. Now let's take a look at these structures in sequence. High up here you can see the optic nerve. These are the optic tracts, and you can see that these optic tracts are crossing these two structures. This is the crus cerebri, together the crura cerebri. Now these are parts of the midbrain. So this is a part of the midbrain, this is again a part of the midbrain, and this is a part of the base of the brain, that is the interpedular fossa. And you already know that this diamond shaped interpeduncular fossa is bound anteriorly by the optic chiasma, on the sides by the optic tract, and posteriorly by the crura cerebri and the upper border of the pons. So optic chiasma, upper border of the pons, optic tracts and the crura cerebri. And within this diamond shaped space, what you can make out the infundibulum or the pituitary stalk. Now this whole elevation in the inferior surface of the brain is the tuber cinerarium. This is the region of the hypothalamus along with the mammillary body. The mammillary body is also part of the hypothalamus. It is part of both the hypothalamus as well as the limbic system. So you have the infundibulum, that is the pituitary stalk, you have the pair of mammillary bodies, and over here in this posterior part of the V you have the posterior perforated substance. Now the optic tracts are made up of fibers going from the optic chiasma to the lateral geniculate body. This much you already know. And these crus cerebri, this crura cerebri rather, crus cerebri of this half and this half, they contain the corticospinal fibers, corticonuclear fibers and the corticopontine fibers. So these are actually the descending parts of the corona radiata. So somewhere high in a fan shape through the internal capsule, and these would become the corona radiata. So these are the crus cerebri. And you can make out that from the medial margin of the crus cerebri appearing to emerge from within the interpeduncular fossa, you have the oculomotor nerve. And from the lateral border of the crus cerebri you have the trochlear nerve. The trochlear nerve arises from the posterior surface or the dorsal surface of the brainstem. It is the only cranial nerve which arises from the dorsal surface of the brainstem. All the other cranial nerves arise from the ventral surface of the brainstem. So you cannot see the olfactory nerves over here, but you can see the optic, oculomotor and trochlear. Now this crus cerebri is crossed then by the optic tract, it is crossed by the basal vein, and it is crossed by the posterior cerebral and superior cerebellar arteries. These are the structures crossing the crus cerebri. Then you come to the pons. This pons or the bridge across the brainstem and connecting with the cerebellum. This has a central sulcus which is called the basilar sulcus, basilar artery, and there are branches of the basilar artery coming out at the sides. So basilar artery which bifurcates over here into the posterior cerebral arteries. So basilar artery and basilar sulcus of the pons. And you can see these transverse fibers of the pons. These are actually the pontocerebellar fibers, and this ventral part of the pons is the basilar part. It contains the pontine nuclei, and from the pontine nuclei you have transverse fibers going in through the middle cerebellar peduncle. So by the sides of the pons you have here middle cerebellar peduncle going into the cerebellum. Likewise, from the brain you have the superior cerebellar peduncle, and from the medulla inferior cerebellar peduncle. You can see them clearly on the posterior or dorsal surface, but on the anterior surface you can see clearly the middle cerebellar peduncle, and you can make out the trigeminal nerve. So optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal nerve. Now the trigeminal nerve appears to emerge from the junction between the basilar part of the pons and the middle cerebellar peduncle. From this junctional zone, this trigeminal nerve is emerging, and it has a motor root and a sensory root, of which the motor root is medial, M for M, motor root medial. But the thing is that the sensory root is very large and the motor root is very small. As you know, most of the trigeminal nerve through its ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular divisions is sensory, and only a small part which passes along with the mandibular nerve, that is motor. So in the trigeminal nerve, the large sensory root is somewhat lateral and the smaller motor root is somewhat medial. So beyond the pons, if you come here, you can see the lower border of the pons, the pontomedullary junction, and at the pontomedullary junction, if you pass laterally over here, you can see the cerebellopontine. Now between the cerebellum and the pons, and between the pons and the medulla, this corner is called the cerebellopontine region, the cerebellopontine angle, or the CP angle. This is very important for head neck surgeons, neurosurgeons, ENT surgeons. This exploration of the cerebellopontine angle is a difficult job. It's a laborious and painstaking job, and it requires a great deal of expertise in neurosurgical cases. Now if you come to the medulla, beyond the pontomedullary junction, this is the lower border of the pons, and on the ventral surface of the medulla you can make out in the midline the anterior median sulcus. This is the anterior sulcus, which is continuous with the anterior median fissure of the spinal, and in this anterior fissure, the anterior sulcus, you can make out that is obliterated somewhere here. It is quite deep here, but when you come to the lower part of the medulla, it is obliterated by some crisscross fibers. Now this obliteration of the anterior sulcus over here, this is due to the decussation or crossing of the fibers of the pyramidal tract. So because of the pyramidal decussation, this anterior sulcus is somewhat obliterated towards the lower part of the medulla, and this prominence by the sides of the anterior sulcus, this is called the pyramid. So this proliferation here is the pyramid because it contains the pyramidal fiber, so it is the pyramid. By the side of the pyramid you have an oval elevation which is called the olive, and under the olive you have the inferior olivary nucleus and the accessory olivary nuclei. So pyramid, olive, and beyond the olive, further laterally, which you can't see clearly, is the inferior cerebellar peduncle. We have already said that the superior cerebellar peduncle from the midbrain and the inferior cerebellar peduncle from the medulla, they are not clearly visible anteriorly, only is clearly visible from the front. But you just know that on the pyramid, anteriorly from medial to lateral, you have the pyramid, you have the elevation of the olive, and further laterally you have the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Now between the pons and the pyramid you have the emergence of the abducens nerve. So optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducens. So the abducens nerve emerges between the pons and the pyramid. Facial nerve emerges between the pons and the olive, and the vestibulocochlear nerve emerges close by between the pyramid and the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So abducens nerve, facial nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve. Now you can see this facial nerve is also duplicated. It has, see, one large part here and one small part here. Here also the facial nerve has a sensory root and it has a, now in the facial nerve, and the sensory root is smaller. Unlike the trigeminal, in the trigeminal sensory is large, motor is small. In the facial, motor is large, sensory is small. So again, M for M, the motor root is medial and the sensory root is lateral. Now you can see that the sensory root of the facial nerve is actually trapped between the motor root over here and the vestibulocochlear nerve over here. So you can see vestibulocochlear nerve, you can see motor root of the facial nerve, and in between the small sensory root of the facial nerve appears to be trapped. That is why the sensory part of the facial nerve is also called nervus intermedius. So again, between the pyramid and the pons you have the abducens nerve. Between the olive and the pons you have facial nerve, and between the inferior cerebellar peduncle but close to the facial nerve you have the vestibulocochlear nerve, facial nerve, sensory and motor root. So continuing, now you have seen optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, trigeminal nerve, abducens nerve, facial nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve. And again, if you come down here into the ventral surface of the medulla, between the pyramid and the olive, over here it appears that there are multiple cranial nerves, but this is one nerve. These are the rootlets of the hypoglossal nerve. So between the pyramid and the olive you have the rootlets of the hypoglossal nerve, and between the olive and the inferior cerebellar pedal you have the 9th, 10th, 11th, that is glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory. So between pyramid and multiple rootlets of the hypoglossal nerve, between the olive and the inferior cerebellar peduncle you have glossopharyngeal, vagus and accessory nerves. So between the pyramid and the olive the groove that you have is called the anterolateral sulcus, and between the olive and the inferior cerebellar peduncle the groove that you have is called the posterolateral sulcus. So these are actually, the pyramid is continuous with the anterior funiculus of the spinal cord, that is the anterior white column of the spinal cord, and the olive and the inferior cerebellar peduncle are continuous with the lateral and posterior white matter of the spinal cord. Although they are not equivalent, but more or less they are continuous. So now you have seen optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, trigeminal nerve, abducens nerve, facial nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve, glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory and hypoglossal nerve. So you have seen 11 of the 12 cranial nerve. It's not visible in this picture. It does not come down to the level of the brain stem. And of the cerebellum you can make out the flocculus of the flocculonodular lobe, and you can see the choroid plexus emerging out. Now behind the pons and the medulla you have seen is the fourth ventricle, and behind the fourth ventricle is the cerebellum. So these are actually the lateral apertures of the fourth ventricle, the foramen of Magendie. And you can see the choroid plexus of the fourth ventricle is extending out like a coiled filament from this lateral aperture of the fourth ventricle. So now you have seen what you have to see and what you have to remember for the ventral surface of the brainstem. Now let us look at the posterior or dorsal surface of the brainstem. Now here you have the posterior surface of the brainstem or the dorsal surface of the brain and a lot of structures. So beyond the brainstem actually you can see the diencephalon, a little bit of the diencephalon, just as you could see the diencephalon from the front. See, this was part of the diencephalon, that is the hypothalamic region. So here posteriorly you have the thalamic region, that part of the diencephalon. So you can see the thalamus here. These are the posterior ends of the thalami, and between the thalamus posteriorly you can see in the middle there is the third ventricle, and in the third ventricle you can see the interthalamic adhesion. So you already know that when you are studying the lateral wall of the third ventricle, over the thalamus there is a small bridge, that is the interthalamic adhesion. So this is the interthalamic adhesion which you can see through the opened up posterior wall of the third ventricle. And in the posterior wall of the third ventricle you had the pineal body. So this is the pineal body, and below the pineal body you have the midbrain. So the midbrain starts from here. You have the superior colliculi, the pair. Now these four elevations, these four spherical small bulb-like elevations, they are called the corpora quadrigemina, of which you have the pair of superior colliculus and a pair of inferior colliculus. Now you can make out that this inferior colliculus is going up and getting connected to something from over here. The superior colliculus is also connected to something, but you can't see it by the overlapping posterior end of the superior colliculus is connected to the lateral geniculate body, and the inferior colliculus is connected to the medial geniculate body. Now the connection between the inferior colliculus and the medial geniculate body is called the brachium of the inferior colliculus, and the connecting between the colliculus and the lateral geniculate body is called the brachium of the superior colliculus. Now the superior colliculus and the lateral geniculate body, they are part of the optic reflexes, and the inferior colliculus and the medial geniculate body, they mediate the auditory reflexes. So again, pineal body, superior colliculi, inferior colliculi, brachium of inferior colliculus and the brachium of the superior colliculus that you can't see. So much of the midbrain, and you can see the crus cerebri of the midbrain, which we could see better from the ventral surface or anterior surface. On the sides again you can see the crus cerebri. So crus cerebri on the anterior surface, posteriorly you have the pair of superior colliculi, the pair of the inferior colliculi, and here this margin over here, this is the margin where you can see the superior cerebellar peduncle. So you see the superior cerebellar peduncle here coming down below this margin. So this is the superior cerebellar peduncle connecting the midbrain with the cerebellum. And you can make out, we have already said that this inferior colliculus is a coordinating center for the auditory reflexes. So you can see the lateral lemniscus that carries the auditory pathways. So this lateral lemniscus is going into the inferior colliculus. So lateral lemniscus going into the inferior colliculus and spinothalamic tract going up into the thalamus. So lateral lemniscus and spinothalamic tract going up, and from the midbrain connecting with the cerebellum you have the superior cerebellar peduncle. Superior cerebellar peduncle's cut margin here, superior cerebellar peduncle's cut margin over here, and after removal of the cerebellum the fourth ventricle is de-roofed, so that cut margin also you can see here. So superior cerebellar peduncles connecting to them. Now if you come to the remaining part of the posterior surface of the brainstem, you can see the posterior surface of the pons and you can see the posterior surface of the medulla, and you can see what is essentially the floor of the fourth ventricle. So the upper part of the posterior surface of the brainstem, you can see the floor of the fourth ventricle over here. So pontine part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, medullary part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, and they are separated by these band of transverse fibers which are called the striae medullaris. Now what these striae medullaris are actually fibers coming from the arcuate nuclei of the medulla, but we won't go into them now. But you just remember that there are transverse bands of fibers called striae medullaris, and above the striae medullaris you have the pontine part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, and below the striae medullaris you have the medullary part of the floor of the fourth ventricle. And in the floor of the fourth ventricle again you have that median sulcus, you have the posterior median sulcus, and here you have the posterior median sulcus, and you have another sulcus over here which is slightly shallower, but it's still there. See, here you have the, what this lateral sulcus is called the sulcus limitans. This is the junction between the columns of the sensory nuclei and the motor nuclei, that is the sensory part and the motor part of the neural tube. You know that in the developing neural tube laterally you have the sulcus limitans. So you have the sulcus limitans here and you have the posterior median sulcus over here. Now on the sulcus limitans over here you can make out one depression above here which is called the superior fovea, and you have one depression below here, this is called the inferior fovea. So superior fovea, a depression here, inferior fovea, a depression here, and you have structures medial to the sulcus limitans, that is between the posterior median sulcus and the sulcus limitans over here. So if you look at this medial section between the posterior median sulcus and the sulcus limitans, you can see this elevation, the facial colliculus. So in the pontine part of the floor of the fourth ventricle you can make out the elevation of the facial colliculus. Now this facial colliculus is due to the underlying abducent nucleus which is looped by the fibers of the facial nerve. So the fibers of the facial nerve looping around the abducent nucleus give rise to this facial colliculus. It is not the nucleus of the facial nerve or the motor nucleus of the facial nerve that is actually causing this elevation. It is rather the nucleus of the abducent nerve which is looped by the fibers of the facial nerve. So facial colliculus over here. Now above the superior fovea over here you have what we call the locus ceruleus. Here there is a small patch which having a slightly bluish color in the fresh specimen, and this locus ceruleus, the bluish color is supposed to be given by an area which is rich in iron. So this locus ceruleus is containing some nuclei which are part of the reticular formation. So just above the superior fovea on the lateral side you have the locus ceruleus, and medially you have the big facial colliculus. So facial colliculus, locus ceruleus, and then you come down below in the medullary part, in between the median sulcus and the sulcus limitans you have the hypoglossal triangle. So facial colliculus above, hypoglossal triangle below, and at the level of the inferior fovea, just as medially you have the hypoglossal triangle, laterally you have the vagal triangle. So vagal triangle laterally, hypoglossal triangle medially, hypoglossal triangle containing the nucleus of the hypoglossal nerve, and the vagal triangle containing the dorsal nucleus of the vagus. Now apart from the dorsal nucleus of the vagus, you also have the nucleus ambiguus, but the nucleus ambiguus you are not getting to see on the surface in any way, because the nucleus ambiguus is deep within the center of the medulla oblongata, within the entanglement of the reticular formation. So you don't have a surface projection of the nucleus ambiguus, but the projection of the dorsal nucleus of the vagus. So hypoglossal nucleus and dorsal nucleus. Now although you can see it very well, within this vagal triangle you have a slight separation, another smaller band over here, which is called funiculus separans. So this vagal triangle does not extend all the way down to the lower corner of this diamond shaped floor of the fourth ventricle. It is separated from this distalmost point by a band which is called funiculus separans, and below that part, somewhere here, you have an area which is called the area postrema. Now this area postrema is supposed to contain the vomiting center and a part of the center for cardiovascular reflexes deep to this area postrema. And this area postrema is one area where again the blood-brain barrier is relaxed. The blood-brain barrier is relaxed and the brain can directly sense the composition of the blood. So you have seen the circumventricular organs where the blood-brain barrier was weak. In the area postrema also the blood-brain barrier is weak. So this is another area. So again you have the facial colliculus, superior fovea. Above the superior fovea you have the ceruleus. Coming below the striamedullaris towards the midline, here you have the hypoglossal triangle. Further laterally beyond the sulcus limitans you have the vagal triangle. In the lower part of the vagal triangle you have the funiculus separans, and beyond that in the distalmost part you have the area postrema, and the distalmost tip over here is called the obex. Now what lies lateral to the sulcus limitans? Above you have seen there is the bluish area of the locus ceruleus, which contains iron pigment rich neurons, which is called the substantia ferruginea. And again still lateral to that, in this lateral corner towards the lateral apertures of the fourth ventricle, here you have the vestibular area. It contains the superior, inferior, lateral and medial vestibular nuclei. So there are four vestibular nuclei, superior, inferior, lateral, medial. They lodge in this triangular vestibular area, and you can see half of the vestibular area is in the pons and half of the vestibular area is in the medulla. So this whole thing lateral to the sulcus limitans is the vestibular area, which is partly in the pons and partly in the medulla. Now what about the cochlear nuclei? The cochlear nuclei are deep into this pocket, so you actually cannot see them from the surface, and they are not part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, but they are deep to these corner pockets over here, the dorsal and ventral cochlear nuclei. And the whole thing is that below this striamedullaris, this triangular lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, it looks like the nib of a fountain pen. Previously scribes used to use this kind of fountain pens which were dipped in ink, and because this looks like the scribe's fountain pen, so it is called calamus scriptorius, that is a scribe's nib. So it looks like a nib of a scribe, so it is called calamus scriptorius, the triangular lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle below the striamedullaris. So already you have seen a lot of things. Now you have the fourth ventricle here, and behind you have the cerebellum, and you have already seen the middle cerebellar peduncle. This is coming from the pons in front. You have the superior cerebellar peduncle, which is coming downward and backward from the midbrain, and you have the inferior cerebellar peduncle, which is rising upward and backward from the medulla. So middle cerebellar peduncle, inferior cerebellar peduncle and superior cerebellar peduncle. This is the order from lateral to medial, MIS. Middle cerebellar peduncle from the pons, inferior cerebellar peduncle from the medulla, superior cerebellar peduncle from the midbrain. Now this roof of the fourth ventricle, the upper part of the roof is more solid, is called the superior medullary velum. The lower part of the roof is more flimsy and incomplete. It is called the inferior medullary velum. So because it is flimsy, in dissections the superior medullary velum is prominent while the inferior medullary velum is not prominent when you are taking a look at the floor of the fourth ventricle. And in the middle of this superior medullary velum you have this midline elevation, which is called the frenulum veli. It's called the frenulum of the superior medullary velum, and it is from here actually that you have the trochlear nerve. The trochlear nerve decussate and go to the opposite sides. So although you have not drawn the trochlear nerve here, the trochlear nerve is exiting the brain from this point through the superior medullary velum and by the sides of the frenulum veli. So from here your nerve, although you cannot see them, you expect to see the trochlear nerves here, because in the previous picture here you could see the trochlear nerve coming from the back side of the brainstem. So when you are actually looking at the posterior surface of the brainstem, you expect to see the trochlear nerves, but you just keep it, and they are curling around this crus cerebri and they are going to the anterior surface. The posterior surface of the pons is mostly open to the fourth floor of the fourth ventricle, and it is open into the, and if you cut out the roof of the fourth ventricle you can see the posterior surface of the pons almost in totality. But in the medulla it is not so. Half of the medulla is posteriorly exposed into the fourth ventricle. This is called the open part of the medulla, and half of the medulla is not exposed. It is more or less solid. So this is the closed part of the medulla. So here you have the open part of the medulla oblongata, and here you have the closed part of the medulla oblongata. And in the closed part of the medulla oblongata you can see the nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cuneatus. So it's called the gracile tubercle or the fascicular tubercle. So you have nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus, and you have fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus. They are coming from the dorsal columns of the spinal cord. So from the dorsal white columns, fibers that are rising up, they are relaying in the nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus, and these are also visible in the lower part of the posterior surface of the medulla. So half of the posterior surface of the medulla is open and exposed and forms the floor of the fourth ventricle, and the other half is the closed part of the medulla containing posteriorly the nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cuneatus and their ascending fasciculus. Now anteriorly this part would be containing the pyramid, olive and the inferior cerebellar peduncles. So these are the inferior cerebellar peduncles arising from here. Above also somewhere here you have the fibers arising from the inferior cerebellar peduncles. You have inferior cerebellar peduncles arising from here. So now you have the thought of the floor of the fourth ventricle and the posterior surface of the brain stem. Now one another thing is that somewhere here this junction between the pons and the medulla, this depression is also called the foramen caecum. So you have a foramen caecum in the tongue, you have a foramen caecum here also. And you have a foramen caecum beyond the crista galli in the, when you study osteology, upper surface of the base of the skull, there also you have a foramen caecum. So you have many foramen caecum everywhere in the head and neck and brain. Anyway, let us take a final look from the sides. Now this is the brainstem from the side, and if you look at the brainstem from the side, you see this part is the midbrain, this part is the pons, and this part is the medulla. Again in the midbrain you can make out the optic nerves, the optic chiasma, optic tract going into the lateral geniculate body, and you can see the superior colliculus over here, you can see the inferior colliculus over here. So superior and inferior colliculus, you can see the superior colliculus which is being connected with the lateral geniculate body, inferior colliculus being connected with the medial geniculate body. And from the midbrain, these crus cerebri fibers, you can see they were actually going through the internal capsule, and they were the fibers of the corona radiata. So these are the fibers of the crus cerebri going up and connecting with the cerebral cortex. So this is the crus cerebri over here, and over here you can see the lateral lemniscus and the spinothalamic tract, that is spinal lemniscus. You know the lemniscal pathway is important. Medial, trigeminal, spinal, lateral, all these lemnisci pathway are very important, of which you can see the lateral lemniscus carrying the auditory fibers, and they are ending in the inferior colliculus. So lateral lemniscus ending in the inferior colliculus, spinothalamic tract going up into the thalamus, and this portion then is the midbrain. And here you can see the pons, and because you have the pons and the middle cerebellar peduncles, you can see the trigeminal nerve over here emerging between the pons and the middle cerebellar peduncle, the superior cerebellar peduncle of the opposite side descending from the midbrain, and you can see the inferior cerebellar peduncle coming up from the medulla. So you have the inferior cerebellar peduncle here, the superior cerebellar peduncle here, and the middle cerebellar peduncle over here. And if you look at the rest of the, and here you can see the vestibulocochlear nerve and the facial nerve. Between the pons and the olive you have the facial nerve, and between the pons and the inferior cerebellar peduncle you have the vestibulocochlear nerve. And you can see this is the lower closed, this would be the open part of the medulla and the pons, where posteriorly you would have the cavity of the fourth ventricle, and this is the closed part of the medulla which you are looking at side. You can see the nucleus gracilis, nucleus cuneatus, and the fasciculi rising up and relaying into the nucleus gracilis and cuneatus, and then you can see the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve. So here you have the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve and the nucleus gracilis and cuneatus as seen from the, and you can also make out the posterior spinocerebellar tract over here. The posterior spinocerebellar tract is going up into the cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So you can see those fibers as well. So these superficial surface features of the brainstem are very important. You just go through them once from your book and you try to memorize. Although this is not a very perfect video, it will give you at least some idea, I hope. And the rest of these explanations we'll go into when we actually meet in class after the lockdown. Thank you.